What's up, YouTube? How you doing today? What you working on? What you got going on? Showing up to put in this work today. Today we're going to talk about how Drain the Swamp became Embrace the Swamp. While we get this work in, we're going to work on cleaning up the toxic garbage these people are spreading throughout our society and our community. And what we're going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit about how Drain the Swamp became Embrace the Swamp. Then I'm going to show you some examples of exactly what I'm talking about. We're going to talk about how it happens, what we can do about it, and we're also going to get in this work. We'll be responding to anything you guys want to talk about in the chat along the way, but let's get into it. Alright, as we've talked about many times, when your followers do not care what's true. And why do they not care what's true? Because they trade mindless obedience and loyalty for drugs. They trade obedience and loyalty for drugs. What are the drugs? Dopamine and oxytocin. The feelings that belonging to a gang provides. Weakness is turned into power. Loneliness is turned into belonging. Ignorance is immediately turned into intelligence. All you have to do is put on that hat, and you don't have to do any more work whatsoever. You don't have to earn anything. Show obedience, and we will give you the drugs of feeling strong when you're actually weak, because now you're part of a gang. We will give you the drug of feeling intelligent when you're actually ignorant. Just repeat what we tell you and we will all pretend that you're intelligent. When you can sell your followers any lie because they put obedience over truth, if you can keep them high on rage against a common enemy, gives you solidarity. Rage in a gang is a distraction. Okay, we don't need to put in any work. We don't need to study. We don't need to read. We don't need to negotiate. We don't need to debate. We don't need to care what's true because we're high on rage against a common enemy. They also get high on self-delusion. They have not done anything but be obedient. But now they get to delude themselves that they're strong. They get to delude themselves that they're intelligent. They get to delude themselves that they've done something simply by showing obedience. The self-delusion that pledging obedience gives them is strength, power, intelligence, and belonging. They haven't really gone out and made any friends. They haven't really formed any bond. They've put on a gang color, and now they get that fake version with no work, no effort, no spine, no sweat. Once you can sell your followers any lie you want to, because they're obedient and they don't care what's true, once you can sell your followers any lie, now you can bog down your enemies. You can bog down your enemies with absurd propaganda, okay? You can put 1,000 lies out on the table because your side doesn't care what's true, they're obedient. Now you can bog down your enemy. And this is my main point. Liberals will stop falling for this tactic when they realize and understand that MAGA doesn't even believe what they say. That's how you can go from release the Epstein files to Epstein who. That's how you can go from drain the swamp to embrace the swamp, which we're going to show just one example of. I could show 100 examples of how the swamp has only expanded and become even more disgusting under MAGA. Liberals will stop falling for the tactic of all these absurd lies when they realize the followers don't even believe what they say. They are being obedient and repeating propaganda. They don't even believe it. If you believe they cared about PDFs, why wouldn't they go to white evangelical churches where, statistically speaking, dominates with PDFs who've been convicted by juries and gone to jail? White Christian evangelical churches would be the first place you would look if you actually cared about PDFs. Liberals have to stop pretending that they believe anything they say. They do not. They are being obedient for drugs. They are giving loyalty away for dopamine and oxytocin, that gang sense of belonging, that gang sense of power, that fake intelligence. They don't believe what they say. So liberals have to understand this, that they say whatever they're saying out of obedience, out of bitch-madeness, out of spinelessness, the way a drug addict will say anything, the way a gang member will say anything the gang leaders tell them to. So again, their followers repeat like parrots what they're told to offer their obedience in exchange for the drugs/feelings the MAGA cult gives them. The MAGA cult uses this obedience to flood society with absurd lies, and liberals become bogged down, disorganized, and dysfunctional, trying to constantly clean a flood of toxic waste when what we need to do is stop it at its source. We have to help the obedient ones, the knee takers, the kneelers, the subservient addicts / gang members understand that they have sacrificed their free will, their agency, what makes them actually human, what makes them a unique person. They have sacrificed that, and where they have sought strength, they become even weaker. Where they've sought power, they become even less empowered. Where they sought belonging, they ultimately become even lonelier because they hate the company that they keep, and good people who follow these principles cannot, by definition, associate with these type of addicts. Okay, the same way when someone you care about is addicted to hard drugs, the way that you help them is not by getting high with them, okay? These people are separated by healthy people versus addicts. When you can sell any lie to your followers, you can flood the zone with absurd propaganda and bog down your enemies. Now, if you're trying to make a swamp, your enemies are people who believe in truth, love, liberty, peace, unity, and prosperity. If you want to build and expand a swamp, these are your enemies. Your followers are drug addicts. They don't really care that much about what they're saying. They will just simply be obedient for the drugs of belonging, power, strength, intelligence that they get by putting on the red hat. When you can bog down your enemies the way that liberals have been bogged down by this flood of toxic bullshit, then you can complete covert actions. When everybody is busy cleaning up the waste that you've dumped throughout society, perfect time to complete covert actions. When you can complete covert strategic actions, you gain a strategic advantage. That's where we are today, okay? The leaders of MAGA have gained a strategic advantage by completing covert actions that they are able to accomplish by bogging down their enemies with a flood of lies that they get away with because their followers help spread these lies out of obedience. Their followers trade their obedience for the drugs of belonging, fake power, self-delusion, pretending that repeating propaganda makes you intelligent. It's a quick hit. They don't have to do any work. They don't have to have any discipline. They don't have to have any integrity. They just get to put on this hat, be in a gang, and get high off of rage and self-delusion. And this is where we are. MAGA has a strategic advantage, and we're going to show you what they're doing with it, how they are embracing the swamp, and this all gets back to people who can one day say, release the Epstein files, and the next day say, Epstein who? People who shout, drain the swamp at the top of their lungs at rallies, and then embrace a swamp being expanded and built before them like never before. You ask, how can this happen? It happens when people trade obedience for the drugs of oxytocin, dopamine, that fake self-delusional feeling of having power when you're weak because you're in a gang of hyenas. That fake feeling of pretending that you're intelligent when you've done nothing but repeat what you're told like a parrot. And this video that we're going to show is going to show that far from draining the swamp, MAGA is expanding the swamp and wants to force us all to work in it and for it. Like I said, just like demanding the release of the Epstein files turned into who cares about Epstein, drain the swamp has become love the swamp, serve the swamp, kneel to the swamp, work in the swamp, roll around in the swamp to these obedient little followers. Because the obedient ones who kneel and vote MAGA do not care what's true. They care about trading mindless loyalty for the self-delusion of being healed. They're trading obedience for a drug, the self-delusion of being healed, the same way Oxycontin, heroin, crack, any hard drug makes somebody who's at their lowest point in life not care about anything. They trade their obedience for that feeling. They are too scared, lazy, apathetic, full of rage, trapped in ignorance, anything but doing the actual work. Learning what's true takes work. Showing love like this, I'm not here to insult but to heal. If I didn't have love for you, MAGA people, I would not engage with you. But we can be brothers and sisters when you put truth, love, and liberty that you want for yourself, but you have to allow those for other people. When you put that over obedience to this fake drug of being in a gang, searching for things that this gang is never going to give you, they're just going to use to continually exploit you and bog down their enemy with bullshit. People doing that are trying to find, like drug addicts, a way to shortcut or cheat the system. I don't want to do the hard emotional work. I don't want to do the hard physical, strategic work, community organizing. I don't want to do any of that. I want a quick hit. Like drug addicts and gang members do, they try to find a shortcut, a way to cheat the system, and they will find out sooner or later that they only cheated themselves. Okay, because when you're obedient, you sacrifice what makes you a human being, which is your free will, your agency, your independence, your uniqueness. When you sacrifice that to conform to swamp creatures, what even are you? You're not yourself. You're a zombie follower. For what? To get high like a drug addict on fake feelings. They will be exploited and used up by the cult/gang that once made them feel high. As we see over and over and over in MAGA, we see it always turns on itself. The minute you flinch from obedience, the swamp will eat you. So, if we care about our brothers and sisters, getting high on these fake feelings that this gang provides, then we have to talk to them. We have to talk about this. And again, it's not about arguing the points, because they don't care what's true when they're being obedient. They're obeying. So we have to confront them on their obedience, their spinelessness, giving up their free will, their agency, what makes them unique, independent human beings, what makes them who they are. They sacrifice like drug addicts. They trade obedience for rewards. And when a cult can get away with any lies, it floods the zone with 1,000 lies to bog down its enemies so that it can complete covert actions. Covert actions give a strategic advantage, and that's where we are today. Now we're gonna look at this video explaining, exactly this. MAGA's not draining the swamp, they are expanding the swamp. And their followers couldn't care less, like I keep saying, because they're obedient. That's how you can drain the swamp yesterday, embrace the swamp today. Release the Epstein files yesterday, Epstein who today? How does that happen? When people are obedient. They sacrifice their free will, their integrity, their agency to a cult. Okay, and we can all be brothers and sisters again when we simply unite around the principles that I know, you want for yourself and I want for myself. You want love, you want liberty. Let other people have love and liberty. And we can all unify around these higher principles and fuck a jersey, fuck a team color. Why can't we all unite around these things? You cannot be in this cult and claim that you unite around these things. It's proven too much otherwise, and that's why it's out and out hostility now, because these people know who these people are. And just like cancer cells, unless they change and start working with the body to sustainability, they must be separated. You cannot allow cancer. Lies are the destruction of civilization, of reality. Lies are self-delusion. Self-delusion is fear. You need self-delusion if you're afraid of reality. These people are afraid of reality. They're afraid of who people actually love. They're afraid of who people worship. They're afraid of people unionizing. They're afraid of immigrants, even though they come from immigrants. It's a fear cult. And that fear turns into rage because they feel weak about feeling fear, and that makes them mad. And these people take that anger and they sell them the self-delusion that they can do something about it. All right, let's look at this video that shows very clearly that the swamp is only being expanded. The swamp is only growing. The followers couldn't care less, and we've just talked about why that is. Well, I'm going to start to get in some work here.
Country. Make sure you've got a truck you can depend on.
So I'm going to be doing 80 pounds on the curls. That's 40 pounds each hand. 60 pounds on the lat raises, 30 pounds each hand. Same with triceps. 45 pounds on rows, 45 pounds Romanian deadlifts, 45 in each hand for presses, and then body weight squats, body weight quad squats, which you'll see. Okay, let's listen to this.
CEOs.
The most brilliant people are gathered around this table.
Meta. In September 2025, Trump hosted a dinner for big tech's top CEOs.
The most brilliant people are gathered around this table.
Meta, Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, everyone was there.
This is definitely a high IQ group.
It was the usual scene. A bunch of people around a table praising Trump, thanking him for everything that he's doing.
Well, thanks for hosting us. Thank you so much. Thank you for including me.
Thank you for being such a pro-business, pro-innovation president.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
But I've got to admit, this dinner in particular, it had me scratching my head. It was weird. And not just because Zuckerberg got caught on a hot mic trying to be the teacher's pet.
All of the companies here are making huge investments in the country.
How much are you spending, would you say, over the next few years?
Oh gosh, I don't know, at least $600 billion.
Sorry, I wasn't ready to do our wasn't sure what else we want to keep going.
Trump and Trump allies have historically been anti-tech.
There's no question that what the big tech companies are doing is very bad. I think big tech has made a terrible mistake and very, very bad for our country.
The presidency that started the antitrust lawsuit against Google was Donald J. Trump's presidency. We've got to take on those monopolies. President Trump already did it, and I think he'll do it again if we give him another chance.
In fact, Trump's first administration sued Google and Meta, and they tried to ban TikTok. So when I saw this dinner, and when I saw this scene at his inauguration, I was more than a little surprised. What changed? How did we go from this?
I'm filing a major class action lawsuit against the big tech giants, including Facebook, Google and Twitter.
to this.
This is definitely a high IQ group. They're leading a revolution in business and in genius.
Well, we can't say for sure, but I'm guessing all of these donations didn't hurt. And the switch up on big tech, it's just scratching the surface.
Are we supposed to pretend that multi-billion-dollar corporations make multi-million-dollar payments and do not expect anything in exchange for those things?
You're looking at all of big tech's donations to the second inauguration of Donald Trump.
Each company gave about
To
$1
his
million to the new
inauguration.
president to throw a massive inauguration party, which many of their CEOs attended.
How did they get away with giving the president $1 million each? Because there are almost no rules regulating inauguration funds. No laws saying what the funds have to be spent on. No limits on how much can be donated or who can even donate. And as a result, inauguration funds have become a major tool for corporate interests to buy influence in our government. Another way to flatter and buy out Donald Trump. And the strategy is working. Before the inauguration, Meta was not in good standing with the government or with Donald Trump.
I consider Facebook to be an enemy of the people, along with a lot of the media.
Under Biden, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau was investigating Meta for illegally harvesting users' financial data to sell more ads on their platform. Then, Trump takes office, Meta donates $1 million, and the investigation vanishes. In fact, the Trump administration has basically shut down the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau entirely, which is great for Mark Zuckerberg, but not so much for the entire idea of protecting consumers. Google is playing the same game as Meta. In 2020, the previous Trump administration opened an antitrust case against Google. They said that Google had created an unfair monopoly. Something about running the single biggest search engine and the single biggest web browser at the same time seemed a little unfair, I guess. Google actually lost that case technically, but the judge ruled that Google wouldn't have to change its business in any major way. They could keep the Chrome web browser as long as they paid a measly fine that they could basically dig out of their couch cushions. A lot of people saw it as a major blow to antitrust efforts, and yet, 5 years after he opened the lawsuit, Trump changed course and congratulated the CEO of Google on this favorable ruling.
Do you want to talk about that big day you had yesterday?
I'm glad it's over.
Don't forget, Biden was the one that prosecuted that lawsuit, you know.
Google's stock price, of course, skyrocketed after the ruling. Then there's Apple. Tim Cook personally donated $1 million to the inauguration. And for his donation, Apple has been given a lot of preferential treatment. Just this past April, Apple was in a tough spot. Trump had just announced huge tariffs on all kinds of goods coming from foreign countries. Tariffs that would raise Apple's cost of doing business by billions. Weeks later, after Tim Cook met with Trump, the White House announced tariff exemptions for smartphones, computers, and chips. You know, the things that Apple makes. So a $1 million donation for Apple and billions in savings. I guess that's what economists would call a return on investment. To me, it just looks like a bribe with extra steps.
Microsoft, you guessed it, also got in on the action with a $750,000 donation.
And like Google, they got the FTC off their back. A major antitrust case against them dropped for a huge merger they did in 2023 with Activision. Amazon reached a big settlement with the FTC for essentially tricking consumers into signing up for Amazon Prime, a case the FTC could easily have won. So why would they suddenly settle? Are you starting to see a pattern yet? Well, just wait, it's about to get worse. According to research done by Public Citizen, 1 in 3 lawsuits brought against big tech by the government have now been dropped by the Trump administration. So if these donations are all paying off for big tech, you really have to wonder, what else is being bought by all these donations? What you're looking at now is the biggest inaugural fund in the history of the United States. You might be wondering, why are we talking about the inauguration now, months later? Well, first, information about donors take months to be reported to the public, and some donors try to hide their donations. Second, inaugural funds have become a major tool for corporate interests to buy influence in our government. We have all this data because Open Secrets combed through the Federal Election Commission filings to find out who donated. Over $240 million, nearly 800 donors, and like I said before, no rules about how that money has to be spent, managed, or where it can come from. Even the Trump team can't find a way to spend $240 million on a party.
If that's not the swamp, what is?
So what's happening with all that leftover money, and who's managing it? There is an opportunity here for unprecedented levels of corruption. Unlimited corporate money flowing into the coffers of the Trump inaugural fund, buying access without any oversight. So of course, big tech companies weren't the only ones throwing their hats in the ring. Up first, the top donor, a company called Pilgrim's Pride, contributed $5 million. They're one of the top chicken producers in the United States, and this was their biggest political donation ever. And you know what? It looks like they're getting good value for their money. Because in March of this year, just a few months after the inauguration, the USDA started changing the rules around poultry production. The USDA decided to let poultry giants speed up production despite serious safety concerns. Unions pointed out that increased speeds will mean more injured workers in an industry where over 80% of workers are already at risk for repetitive use injuries. And yeah, that makes sense. But I guess the unions didn't have $5 million to give to the Trump administration. Next up, Big Oil, ConocoPhillips, and Chevron. On the first day of the new administration, Trump signed an order to expand drilling on federal land in Alaska. Then they passed the One Big Beautiful Bill, which had $18 billion in tax breaks and incentives for big oil. Then in July, they reversed their own ban and decided that Chevron should definitely be allowed to operate in Venezuela. And I'm sure the $2 million donation had nothing to do with it. NVIDIA got in on the action with a $1 million donation. And what did they get? Permission. The government had previously banned NVIDIA from selling their most advanced AI chips to China on the grounds that China would be using them for the military. Not the case anymore. AI chips can be sold to China again, although NVIDIA does have to share 15% of the revenue with the US government. Just like with Apple, tariffs seem to only apply to people who lack direct access to the president. Boeing made a contribution after having a very bad couple of years. You might remember a few years ago their planes were literally falling out of the sky. Hundreds of people died. Seems like the kind of thing that there might be a trial over. But in May, the Department of Justice made a deal with Boeing to not prosecute them for crimes over the 737 crashes, as long as Boeing paid about $1.1 billion in fines. Sounds like a lot of money, until you learn that Boeing had just won a contract for $50 billion with the Department of Defense to build new F-47 fighter jets. Looks a lot like a preferential slap on the wrist to me. If you hate the current state of air travel, then you'll be interested to hear that Delta and United both made major donations. Then the Trump administration turned around and killed new rules that would force airlines to compensate passengers for excessive delays. In response to this move, and the rollback of other rules about hidden fees and flight cancellations, the airlines said, "We look forward to working with the Department of Transportation on implementing President Trump's deregulatory agenda." Yeah, I bet they do. The crypto industry also came in with some of the biggest donations for President Trump. Crypto companies and schemes rocketed to the center of the Trump world at the start of this year when Trump passed the Genius Act, the first major piece of legislation that brings cryptocurrencies into the formal economy, started dropping major investigations into crypto companies, created a strategic cryptocurrency reserve for the government, and launched his own meme coin on the Solana blockchain, another major donor. Which is a long-winded sentence that I can't believe I just had to say. And maybe the worst part of all of these donors are the ones that we don't know anything about. The shell companies, political action committees, and the fake nonprofits that were made to hide who the real donors are. Americans for Pharma Reform, Election Freedom Inc., Axe Capital, all untraceable dark money. We'll probably never know who they were or what influence they bought. So yes, technically no one has broken the law here. But shouldn't we care when massive corporations buy influence at the cost of the public? $1 million to spare? You can have dinner with the president, and he might even listen to your concerns. $5 million to spare? You can probably buy a whole policy. To me, this looks a lot like a system of patronage. A government that operates on fealty, bribes, personal favors, and insider access. It's not just the inauguration and all this money. It's how the Trump administration has attacked big law firms to get them to offer free work. It's how they sued media companies to get them to take people off the air that don't give Trump favorable coverage. It's how they force private companies to bend the knee to comply with Trump's preferences. It's how they threaten to withhold funding from states with governors that Trump doesn't like. The inaugural fund was just one move in the playbook, a move that recenters corporate power at your expense.
So see, these people could not give a flying fuck about the swamp. The swamp is growing, expanding right in front of everybody's face, and they don't care because they're obedient little bitch-made followers. They're not truthful men who stand for liberty and love. That's how you say release the Epstein files one day, and the next day you couldn't care less. Let's watch how the idiocy of their lies plays out when it's actually confronted. And this is just more a lesson of it is a waste of time to deal with the actual lies if we don't address the obedience. Okay, you're gonna see Kash Patel here. You're gonna see Kash Patel under oath being completely full of shit with no shame. And this whole video makes clear the absurdity of Kash Patel. But what comes from it? Nothing, because he leaves saying, I was obedient. I was loyal. I don't care about the truth. I care about the rewards I get for my obedience.
This morning, our close personal friend, Mr. Comer, said that he was not going to look into the letter or the doodle, the president's doodle. He's a decent doodler, by the way. So he wasn't going to look into whether the signature was a forgery, and I'm concerned about that. Because this is the president of the United States. If there are forgeries or forgers out there, I think we should investigate it. And in fact, this document is 22 years old. So you're telling me someone 22 years ago went back to the future and forged his signature when he was a Democrat. And somehow this person was Nostradamus, knew he would become a Republican, become president 22 years later. So listen, I submit to you that we can solve this problem for the American people. You don't have to take my word for it. You don't have to take our dear personal friend, Mr. Comer's word for it. Let's bring in a signature expert. The president has, you've seen the picture of the woman's body with the writing and the president's signature. The president says that's not his. Okay? The president says it's not his. The Republican colleagues say it's not his. The administration say it's not his. Will you be opening up an investigation into the Epstein estate for putting out a fake document with the president's signature linking him to the world's largest pedophile ring? Will you be opening that investigation into that?
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here, and it was a blistering scene at the House Judiciary Committee just a few days ago. FBI Director and, failed podcaster turned MAGA conspiracy mascot, Kash Patel was on the hot seat, and you could practically see the sweat rolling down his forehead.
Will you be opening up an investigation into the Epstein estate for putting out a fake document with the president's signature linking him to the world's largest pedophile ring? Will you be opening that investigation into that?
On what basis?
On what basis?
On what basis? Bitch made.
They literally put out a fake document, according to the president, with a fake signature. It's a forgery of the president of the United States signature. That's the basis.
Sure, I'll do it.
Okay, I look forward to that investigation.
Sure, I'll do it. This was months ago. Do you think MAGA cares that he lies? Oh, so this disgusting note in Epstein's estate signed by Donald Trump, where everybody can tell it's his signature, it's a forgery. We're not going to investigate. Somebody's out there forging Donald Trump's signature and sending it to Epstein 20 years ago. Like, he knows he's full of shit. They know he's full of shit. They don't care because they're all obedient. They're like, red hat, gang, gang. We'll lie, we'll do whatever for the gang. We're obedient. We don't care what's true. He says, yeah, I'll investigate it, because even he knows if you're making the argument that it's fake, then who's forging Donald Trump's signature, writing disgusting doodles about Epstein-type stuff to Epstein 20-something years ago? And so he's like, yeah, I'll investigate it. We're waiting. We all know it's not going to happen. MAGA, we know you don't care because you're obedient little boys. You give up your free will. You give up your spine to kneel to bitch-made fucking incels like this. That's crazy. You kneel to this? Never. You must be high.
Democrats weren't just questioning him, they were peeling him apart layer by layer. Every time he tried to dodge, they cut him off. Every time he tried to stall, they dragged him.
You got Airborne, you got United States Marine telling you who these bitches are. But you want to get high on the bullshit they sell you instead of listen to real men show you where you can have actual brotherhood, where you actually can be strong, where you actually can be intelligent and think for yourself. Nobody here is going to tell you to repeat an insane lie. Everybody over here is fine with finding out whatever Democrats are on the Epstein list and kicking them the fuck out. Why aren't you? Because you're obedient.
Back into the light. Patel came in thinking he could spar, maybe play lawyer with a few clever half-truths. Instead, he left looking like the defendant at his own trial.
You guys pick the witnesses, bring in your signature experts, swear them under oath, and let's have the signature examined. Is it his or it is not his? We don't have to play games or it, the president says it's not his, we say it's him. No, let's bring in a signature expert, a referee, because we can't agree on anything, even when it's right in our face, of whether that is indeed the president's signature, or if it's a forgery, we should immediately open up an investigation.
Kids shouldn't go hungry if they don't have enough money. But
So, if it's not his signature in the Epstein documents, his gross little note that he wrote to Epstein, if it's not his, then wouldn't the FBI want to know who 20 years ago was forging letters from Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein? It sounds so absurd saying it out loud. The only way you can make sense of it is through this obedience. They all know how full of shit they are. Kash Patel knows how full of shit he is. He knows that he's serving a PDF, but he's obedient for the rewards that he gets.
Into this forgery.
The joke wrote itself. The forgery talk was smoke and mirrors. The doodle, that was the banana peel. And the entire GOP defense just slipped flat on its ass. Expert witness, though? Please. Their expert witness would probably turn out to be Rudy Giuliani, dressed up as Simon Bar Sinister from the Underdog cartoons. And Moskowitz wasn't done. He started twisting the knife, and I mean good. He didn't just ask. He dared them to defend the nonsense. He's saying, do you really expect us to believe this? That some time-traveling liberal hopped in Doc Brown's DeLorean, tore across a McDonald's parking lot, and went full cosplay to sneak a forged Trump birthday card into Epstein's book back in 2003 when Trump was still calling himself a Democrat.
I know that the President of the United States brought a $10 billion lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal for reporting about the existence of this. He denied that it existed in any way. What is the state of that litigation? I think, wouldn't we want that resolved before we move to a handwriting expert?
Oh, sure. I mean, I assume there will be, obviously, depositions that get taken. I assume there'll be production of documents. I assume as that case goes forward, they too will bring in their own expert to say it is not him. I just think, because we're in the middle of this investigation in oversight, even though, of course, this committee has jurisdiction over the DOJ and the FBI, but we all know that our chairman obviously only wants to handle, the real stuff. We give everything else to Comer. And so, I just think that rather than this drag out for weeks or months, is it his? Is it not his? Does he like to draw? Doesn't he like to draw? Right? Like, let's just get an expert in here to tell us if. And I'll tell you right now. If you bring in an expert, you pick the expert, you swear him up. If that expert tells us it's not his signature, I will accept the results. I will absolutely accept the results that it's not his signature and it is absolutely a forgery. But I'm willing to bet that we won't do that. I'm willing to bet we won't do that. But prove me wrong.
What are you really saying? that some Nostradamus-style prophet scribbled in a quatrain 400 years ago about the orange one who will doodle in the book of the damned? That someone knew Trump would flip parties, become president 22 years later, and already had the doodle ready to go? Good God. That's how ridiculous their defense sounded. A prophecy written in crayon. But then came the killer move. Moskowitz gave them the one obvious, no-nonsense way to settle it. Bring in neutral handwriting experts. Swear them under oath. Put the page under the microscope. Is it his signature or isn't it? No theatrics, no spin. Just forensic. It's a doodle or is it not? That was a straight-up dare, and it landed like a hammer. Everyone in the room knew what had just happened. The second you call in independent experts, the fog clears. No more fake, not fake theater. No more hand-waving. The whole act collapses. And this is where the whole thing shifted from a hearing into a roast. Because once Moskowitz dropped that one word, doodle, it wasn't just a piece of paper anymore. It wasn't an exhibit. It wasn't a document. It was a Sharpie scrawl, the kind Trump's been leaving behind for years. The hurricane map with the Sharpie circle, the hush money checks, the love notes to Kim Jong-un, and now a birthday doodle in Jeffrey Epstein's book. So Moskowitz slinged into it. He just started peeling back the layers with humor. It's like he was asking, does Trump doodle? Is he a doodler? Does he sit around sketching in the margins when he's bored? Sharpie cap between his teeth, leaving behind little squiggles like a middle schooler in detention? Because once you put that image in people's heads, the whole GOP defense collapsed under its own weight. And that's why it stuck, because it wasn't some dry legal back and forth. It was unforgettable. They wanted everyone to see forgery. What people saw was a doodle, a banana peel, and the entire GOP defense slipped fat on its ass. Patel tried to play it cool, offering his weak, sure, I'll do it, like a kid caught with a beer can in the garage. But everybody watching knew he'd just been cooked. It was checkmate in one move. And Moskowitz twisted the knife, daring them to settle it the obvious way. Bring in neutral handwriting experts, swear them under oath, put the doodle under a microscope. Is it his or isn't it? Easy, done, no theatrics, no conspiracy, no DeLorean time travel needed. That's when I had to laugh, because think about the excuse Patel and his pals were selling. Basically that some Nostradamus-type liberal in 2003 had the foresight to sneak into Epstein's little black book.
Alright, so just another example. They're building the swamp. They're expanding the swamp. They're living in the swamp. They're loving the swamp. They couldn't care less about the swamp because they're obedient for rewards.
Focus. Acceleration.
Moses Mike Grinder Johnson has really been hitting the propaganda. He is in front of the cameras nonstop, compulsively lying, gaslighting, projecting. It's almost like, you guys, once they start breaking a little bit for Trump, then all of a sudden they get all of this momentum and they're completely broken. You may remember like a couple of weeks ago, he was filming and he was very flushed, and it's like almost he could feel the dishonesty that he's doing. I think we've kind of moved past that. And Midas Touch has put together a video. And this is Moses Mike Grinder Johnson speaking about Joe Biden, but it sounds exactly like he is describing Kanks. Play the clip.
Was checked out of his job for quite some time, and everybody knows it. And it was a cover-up with people around him who were using, they would give him scripts to follow. They would point him literally in the direction, stand here, sir, wave like this. And he didn't know what he was signing.
So this is an executive order on flag burning?
So there's all sorts of just incredible implications. It sounds like a terrible novel or something, but this is reality. He pardoned categories of violent criminals and turned them loose on the streets.
He is pardoning some 1,500 January 6 rioters who have been convicted for participating in the attack on the Capitol 4 years ago.
A January 6 rioter who was pardoned by President Trump has been arrested and charged with making a credible death threat against Democratic House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries.
You can't allow a president to check out and have unelected, unaccountable, faceless people making massive decisions for the country.
Pumps. Here's the thing about Mike Johnson. Oh, I'm sorry, Moses Mike Grinder Johnson. I apologize. He fucking lies with reckless abandon. And I want to tell him, your Lord and Savior put in the commandments, thou shalt not lie. So dude, in addition to all your other shady shit.
This is what we've been talking about. She can't understand how he can lie and be Christian. But again, it's because he's obedient. The same way Abraham in the Bible was being obedient to God when he was going to kill his son Isaac. He was going to kill a child, something he knew was wrong, because they put obedience first. Liberals need to understand that they don't mean anything that they say. They are being obedient and repeating like pet parrots whatever they're told to get the rewards that you get from being in a gang or being in a cult.
We all see it. He is an abomination towards Christianity, towards people in general, and he has reduced his leadership in Congress to being that of shit on the bottom of somebody's shoe. And also, let's just take a moment that the government is shut down. We have a man who is able to brag about identifying a giraffe on a test that is in charge of the everything, like in charge of the entire federal government, right? And the government shut down. One man could make a difference. Yep. And that little man is little Moses Mike Grinder Johnson. He could have some conviction, but instead the government shut down. The poorest people in this country are going to hurt the most. And with most MAGA policies, they are exploiting off of the poor, and the poor take the hits the most. And he is on television talking about Joe Biden. It is Jover. The Joe Biden shit is over. It is over. The buck stops with Kanks. And everything he said perfectly describes what Kanks is doing. And there's this interesting psychological case study that's like the more Kanks does something, the more they come out and project that the other side is doing. But every accusation is a confession. And
okay, so we talked about in the beginning of the video, when your followers will believe any lie out of obedience, you can bog down your enemies with bullshit. You can spread 1,000 lies in a few hours. When your followers don't care what's true, they only care about trading their obedience for the rewards you give them for being obedient. So this is what liberals are missing, is that the religion doesn't matter. Mike Johnson can look to the story of Abraham and say, well, if Abraham was willing to kill his own son for God, then I'll be willing to lie for God, because MAGA is tied in with the white evangelical churches 100%. It is basically the same thing. You guys already know that. They've attracted other incels that aren't part of the Christian churches, but they relate to the church's desire for patriarchy and making women submit, because that's the only way incels could ever get a woman, unless they look themselves in the mirror and decided to become good people. But they don't want to do that because it takes work. These people are like drug addicts. They want a quick hit. They want to put on the red hat and now I'm intelligent. Put on the red hat, now I'm strong. Not doing any work.
Getting worse and worse. Here's little Moses Mike Grinder Johnson on Zoran Mamdani. Play the clip.
They fear the Marxist insurgents like Mamdani more than they fear families and children going hungry.
That's crazy. He says that people fear a Marxist insurgent. And you know, this is what the Democrats really, really need to message about how lame and tired and old and pathetic the fear-mongering is from MAGA and from Republicans at large. Their default setting is to scare you. And in actuality, you should be very scared of their policies. And I think the question comes right now for a lot of Americans, You have to think about what they're doing in totality to the whole country and the cascading and generational effects this is going to have. So some white Americans in our socioeconomic group might not be affected right now, Pumps. But at some point, if this keeps going and they keep tearing this down, everybody will be affected from this. Even the very oligarchs that bend the knee have found out in Vladimir Putin's oligarchy that they get pushed out of windows and their companies get taken over. Nobody is safe with this shit. And I'm just so tired of the pathetic, lazy fear-mongering. Well, here's the deal. A lot of these people are very simple people. They're very low information voters. And the Republicans are scaring them that illegal aliens are getting health insurance. That is a lie, but they don't take the time to check it out. And I've kind of, I believe.
Why don't they take the time to check out any of the thousands of lies that MAGA spreads? Because they're obedient. They don't have an inner conflict. If they found out something that they repeated was a lie, they're like, so? I'm team red, baby. Ride or die. On to the next 1,000 lies. Oh, that one's fake? I don't care. I'm obedient. I'm loyal. When I am obedient and loyal, they get me high off rage and self-delusion. I give them my obedience. They give me self-delusion and rage.
That Mike Johnson and the Republicans and Donald Trump, they like the fact that people will be hungry on Thanksgiving. I think they enjoy it because if they didn't, they could do something about it. This whole regime, as I look at it from bird's eye view, it's about hurting people and cruelty. It is so stunning.
No, it's about power.
That you have a Speaker of the House that doesn't give a shit that 40 million people are going to be hungry. He doesn't care. All right, and
he
then
cares about loyalty.
Here is Moses
Not
Mike
truth.
talking about how tired he is.
Can't let this come out. Okay, again, what liberals have to understand is confront MAGA on how their obedience sacrifices their free will. Their free will, their agency, what makes them unique human beings. You sacrifice that, you kill that to be obedient to this cult in exchange for the drugs, dopamine, oxytocin, getting high, the sense of belonging, the sense of giddy cult, like a pack of hyenas who are, high on running a lion off its kill. That type of gang frenzy is the drug that they sacrifice their free will for. And liberals cannot debate them on the facts. We have to debate them on their obedience, on how they're giving up even being real human beings to serve this bullshit. Because when you have a friend or a brother, somebody you care about who's addicted to hard drugs, you don't help heal them by getting high with them. You don't help heal them by ignoring and pretending they don't have a problem. You have to talk to them and say, yo, you're an addict. Yo, you're an obedient little bitch. Stand up. Who are you? Say what you believe. I know you want love and liberty, but you're afraid to stand up for those values in your own life. Why? Somebody in your life who you do this little tap dance for, you're afraid to stand up to them and say, I believe in love and liberty, so I would never go for this. You got to ask yourself, you know you're trading obedience for the drug of putting on a red hat and pretending that makes you something without doing any work. No reading, no debating, no studying, no writing essays and submitting them for peer review, having your peers tear them apart, tell you why you're stupid, and you look at them and say, thank you, now I'm better. I can think better now because now I can anticipate how good people are going to dissect what I say. You don't have to do any of that work over here. You just get to put on a hat and hey, I repeat what they tell me on Fox News, and I'm smarter than you, Bubba. Self-delusion is a drug, and they keep their followers high on the drug in exchange for obedience. But we have to explain to these people, your obedience makes you not you, brother. That's not you. That's not the real you. You're tap dancing for bitch-made motherfuckers. Why? Because they're the drug dealers. They're giving you this bullshit drug, man. When the real thing, you want truth in your life? You want to know the truth? You want love in your life? You want the liberty to be you? Then you have to come over here. These things cannot commingle. They are oil and water. But over here, we will accept you as soon as you say, you know what? I'm about the same things that I want for myself. Who am I to deny those to other people? If I want to have these things, who am I to deny them to other people? But over here, all it is you obey us, you repeat what we tell you to. Today we want the Epstein files, tomorrow we don't. Today we're going to drain the swamp, tomorrow we're making it bigger than you've ever seen. And y'all ain't going to say shit about it because you're obedient for the rewards we give you. Liberals have to understand this.
Going on in earnest as well. People keep coming to me, you look so tired on TV. I am so tired because we're not sleeping a lot. We're working overtime. Here in Washington, our House committees have continued to conference together and do all the work we can to ensure legislation.
Okay, and then the Lincoln Project masterclass trolling says, up all night on Grindr, no doubt.
No doubt.
Because Johnson's saying he looks so tired. The lying and the comfort that these people get with lying, the more they capitulate to this evil regime is breathtaking. And you can look at like Marco Rubio at first. The first month of his tenure as Secretary of State, you could see when they were browbeating and bullying Zelensky, you could see Marco like having a physical reaction to it. And the more they succumb to this regime, the worse and worse they get. And then it gets easier. And now we're at the state where for all of these players in this fascist regime, they are able to execute these lies and the disintegration of our Constitution with ease. And that is really, really chilling to me. Moving along, because
they don't think twice. In their head, they say, I'm ride or die. I'm obedient. I'm loyal. I don't care if it's true or not. I'm obedient because being obedient is going to get me the bitch-made rewards that like a drug addict is after. An instant high, long-term destruction.
as little Moses Mike Grinder Johnson will not stand up for anything. The corruption in this administration is next level.
How can you stand up for anything if all you care about is being obedient?
Remember that these are the people pumps that lost their minds over Hunter Biden. They falsely claimed him of double dealing in Ukraine, but more recently, they got upset that he...
Again, they don't care about Hunter Biden. Their leaders tell them what to say, and they repeat it obediently. And when your followers do not care what's true, you can bog down your enemies, liberals. You can bog down your enemies with 1,000 lies because your followers do not care. They will repeat them, they will spread them, they do what they're told. When you prove lie 1 out of 1,000, 2 out of 1,000, 3 out of 1,000, 4, do they see a pattern and think, maybe everything I believe is a lie? No, they don't care. They go through the whole cycle obediently and they'll come back to the first one and argue it all over again, even when you've already proven them wrong. Because this tactic is made to bog down liberals with bullshit, because when you bog down your enemies, you can now complete covert strategic actions. When you can complete covert strategic actions, because everybody is looking somewhere else, you gain a strategic advantage. That's how these people rule from the minority. That's how they gain the strategic advantage to rule from the minority, is by bogging down their enemies with bullshit spread by a base of followers who only care about obedience. Y'all need to understand that, Jennifer and Pumps. Liberals are still not getting it.
He's an artist and he had an art show, right? So put up this headline, this tweet. Ron Filipkowski of Midas Touch. Trump org's income in the first half of 2024 was $51 million. In the first half of 2025, it rose to $864 million.
Swamp.
A massive percentage came from foreigners.
Swamp.
It should be the biggest scandal in the history of American politics, but few even care. And
few even care because the followers don't care about anything. They're just obedient. They do what they told. Liberals don't care because we are bogged down in 10,000 lies. The toxic sludge is MAGA's output. Liberals are too bogged down. Every one of the 10,000 things is just as absurd. But because we don't confront the source of where it comes from, which is the same way that we have a population of our society that wants to be drug addicts. They want to just get high and never do the work to heal what they're getting high to mask. That's what these people do when they put on the hat. They don't have to study, they don't have to read, they don't have to debate, they don't have to work out. They can put on the red hat and be disgusting as a human like Donald Trump and tell you they're strong. Because the self-delusion comes with the obedience. So they don't care about anything but obedience. Liberals have to understand that we have to go after, hey, if you're obedient to these bitch-made, spineless, weak, disgusting motherfuckers, you're lower than them. And if you're obedient to people like that, you're not yourself. You've given up your free will. What makes you an independent, unique human being? You slay that, you sacrifice that when you choose obedience. You know that you want love. You know that you want liberty. How are you going to deny those to other people? Because you're being obedient to who? To what weak, pitiful motherfucker are you giving this up for?
This is what is so important, and I wish the Democrats at large would start messaging this, that they only have conviction or care about the appearance of double playing or double standards or dubious activity if it's their opponent. When they can enrich themselves and enrich their friends, they flagrantly do it and take victory laps and kind of say, yeah, we get to do it. Fuck you. What are you going to do about it?
Well, and the answer clearly is they're not going to do anything about it. But when you look at going back to Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, all of those things, you look at this media echo chamber. They can't talk about what their economic policy is doing. They can't talk about health insurance policy because they don't have one. They can't talk about inflation numbers and on and on and on. So they're talking about Hunter Biden.
Okay, see, this is why we can't get anywhere. We got our liberal women who are intelligent. They don't understand the problem. They don't understand that it's the obedience. That the reason they care about Hunter Biden, but not the Trumps being 1,000,000 times more corrupt, is because these people are not coming up with the lies. Their leaders tell them what to repeat on Fox News, OAN, and Newsmax. They are obedient so that they will get the gang member cult benefits of being in this cult of hyenas. And so they will repeat whatever they're told. The leaders come up with whatever will bog down their enemies. The Trumps don't care about the Bidens. MAGA doesn't care about the Bidens. They just know that they are going to be so corrupt that they have to accuse their enemy of that which they're guilty. Tell their followers to talk about PDFs all the time and never look inside white evangelical Christian churches where statistically far and away the majority come from. Only through obedience can you get away with that much lying. And when you can get away with your followers with any lie because they're obedient for the drug that you give them, self-delusion and rage, like OxyContin or heroin, when they're obedient for the drug that you give them and you can tell any lie, you can bog down your enemies with 10,000 lies, like just dumping sludge all throughout your community. And when you can bog down your enemies and you just make up lies that are gonna trigger them because they're so absurd, like, wait a minute, we just watched a video about Donald Trump literally pocketing $250 million in private donations for his inauguration. We watched many examples of how they're expanding the swamp, of Kash Patel denying that this, I'm not going to go over what we've already gone over in the video. The point is, when you can bog down your enemies with 10,000 lies, you can accomplish covert strategic actions. When everybody's dealing with the mess you made, and they're all looking over here at the mess, you can accomplish strategic covert actions, and that results in you having a strategic advantage over your opponent, which is how we have the minority of the country ruling over the majority. They have gained a strategic advantage by completing covert actions while their enemies are bogged down in the sludge of 10,000 lies, and their followers only help spread the lies. They don't help clean them up because they're being obedient in exchange for the rewards that they get for being part of a gang or a cult. That's what it is. That's how Drain the Swamp became Embrace the Swamp. We have out and out corruption like our country has never seen, and these people could not care less because they just look at themselves in the mirror and say, I'm obedient, and so I get the rewards for being obedient. Like Abraham willing to kill his own son Isaac, what he knows is wrong, killing an innocent child. But no, he says being obedient to God is more important than not murdering a child. That is how you come up with drug addict mindsets like this. Like a drug addict can rationalize anything, right? If you've dealt with any in your life or your families, you know somebody hooked on hard drugs can justify just about anything. Hello? Who's justifying being pro-release the Epstein files? Just kidding, Epstein who? We're gonna drain the swamp. Just kidding, I don't care. This is the most corrupt administration by 1,000,000 times that no one could have even comprehended this level of corruption. And they don't care at all. How does that happen? The same way you can't trust a crackhead. A crackhead doesn't even believe what they're rambling on and telling you. And so you don't argue with a crackhead. You would be crazy. Why are you going to argue with them? How do you help a crackhead? You don't get high with them. You don't just hang out with them and pretend they're not a crackhead, that they're not dangerous, that they won't be inside casing your joint to rob you in the middle of the night. Why are you going to act that way with them? They're showing you who they are. Does that mean that crackheads are not our brothers and sisters? No. Does that mean we don't want to help them? No. But it means these kinds of people are separated on a fundamental level of truth. It's oil and water. You can't have drug addicts with people of integrity cohabitating with no friction. It's not going to happen. Which side is going to win? And so how do you help somebody addicted to drugs that make them feel great and powerful when they put on the red hat, when they hit the crack pipe, when they take the self-delusion of MAGA? I never work out, but I put on this red hat and now I'm stronger than you, buddy. I put on this red hat, now I'm a Navy SEAL. You're a Marine, I'm a Navy SEAL. I'm better than you. That's self-delusion. I'm going to repeat all these lies I'm told and pretend I'm intelligent when I know I haven't read a book. Let alone 10 books, let alone 100 books, let alone 1,000 books. How many books do you think these people have read? How many peer-reviewed pieces of literature have they read and critiqued or submitted? How many essays have they written in their life? How many debates or arguments have... We're getting into absurdity, right? Because you know crackheads don't do any of that. Crackheads get high and pretend. And how do you help them? They have to admit they have a problem. With a crackhead, you can say, look at the state of your life. Look at the misery you're living in. And we can say the same thing to them. Look at the red states are the most violent, most likely to get murdered, take the most from the federal government, pay the least in, have the lowest education, the lowest quality of life, the lowest health care, but they can't see it through this obedience. So you say it is the obedience. Nobody wants to give up their liberty, but these people are, but they don't realize it. When you're obedient to bullshit, when you're obedient to something other than your own internal truth and integrity, you are sacrificing your free will. You are sacrificing your agency, everything that makes you a unique, individual, special human being. You're sacrificing through obedience for this quick hit of drugs to be part of this cult of bitch-made losers who will fall. History is full of groups that were in control for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, hundreds of years. We can look up throughout history and find all different examples of groups that were in control and thought that the battle was over. And we know here it's not even close. I mean, they have gained a strategic advantage through cheating that when you see on No King's Day 7 million people come out in the streets, you've never seen any kind of MAGA movement like that. Just facts. Just not even as a biased person, which I am, just looking on the internet, you will never see anything. People don't rally around hate and fear and laziness and apathy and rage and ignorance like that. They get high on it, but they don't come out 7 million strong, babies to senior citizens, and say, what are we going to do? And so right now, we're in the middle of it. You still have a chance to choose what you know you want for yourself. Whoever's watching, we don't even have to speak the same language. You could be reading this in Mandarin captions. And as long as love and liberty get translated accurately, I know that you want love. And I know that you want liberty for yourself. You want both of those things. And I'm just here every day to say, how are some of you going to deny those to other people? You want truth. You don't want to be lied to. How are you going to look people in the eye and lie to them every day? How are you going to lie to yourself that being obedient to the scum of the earth isn't destroying you over the long term? You want truth, you want love, you want liberty. Act like it. If you act like it, you can never be in this cult. So if you want to act like you value truth and you value love and liberty for all people, who in your life are you going to have to stand up to that you're like your little crackhead buddy you get high on hate with? Who are you getting high on rage with, high on fear with? Who are you faking that you're strong with when you don't do shit but hate on other marginalized people? Who are you getting high pretending that you're intelligent when all you do is troll and own the libs? Like, what? Only drug addict type behavior. You start to say, how could that? And then you're like, just like a drug addict. And it's like, oh yeah. Focus on obedience and you can understand. And you won't get caught up like they are in the minutia of, how can a Christian lie like this? How can he live with himself? Do you know the Bible? Abraham was going to kill his son. There's so much child murder in the Bible out of obedience. You think they would kill an innocent child, but they won't lie? Come on now. We're not doing anybody any favors if we can't just get to the point of what's going on. Okay? So that's what we're going to do every day. We're going to just do 2 sets of everything today. At the beginning of the video, we talked about this board in detail. Then we got into some videos, working out, commenting on the videos. As always, if you send me anything you want me to watch in one of these videos and react to and talk about, you can email me at hello@loveandliberty.com. You can put it in the comments. Yeah, let me know. And we'll keep talking about it. We are going to clean up the sludge that this cult is spreading through our community. We're going to help change the young men's lives who've been taken in by this bullshit, and we're going to heal them. Again, like crackheads, that doesn't mean we're going to get high with them. That doesn't mean when they're under this cult, this toxic bullshit, we're going to let them into our houses like we would let in a crackhead to our house. No, 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 no. We are intelligent people. We want to help and we care, but we're going to do this the right way. And we're going to say, just like any addict has to first admit that they have a problem, these people have to admit that their obedience has become a problem. That me being blindly and mindlessly obedient to people who are full of shit and don't care about healing me has to change. And we're here to say, okay, if you're ready to admit that you have a problem with obedience, we're going to show you how to be your own person. And when you're your own person over here, guess what? We all disagree about everything. That's why we have a hard time. Our followers will not repeat like parrots anything. They'll argue all with each other, but they all will give each other love and liberty. None of them are going to try to tell you who to worship, who to love. They're not going to let corporations start bullshit wars to help oil companies over here. There's going to be arguments, there's going to be disagreements, but you will actually have your free will and you will be a real individual, unique person, and that will be celebrated. And so that's what unity means. Not that we're all the same, but that we unify around truth, love, and liberty matter more than anything. And inside of that tent that we all come into and say, yes, I want love and liberty for myself, I will make sure that you have it as well. That doesn't mean we're going to agree on everything, but we're not going to let anything that we disagree on violate what's most important. Over here, there are no standards. It's a fundamental difference. Like cancer cells from white blood cells, like noxious weeds that will destroy your crops, from a potato, tomato, cucumber plant that will feed you. Like a poison plant from an herb. Sometimes we have to separate things. Sometimes we have to have the discernment and the intelligence to judge good from bad. If we really love our brothers and sisters and we see them hooked on this drug of self-delusion and rage and we want to help them, we don't get high with them, we don't ignore the problem, we deal with the root issue, which is obedience. Giving up your free will for obedience. For the rewards that the cult gives you for being obedient. That while instantaneously might feel good, over the long run will destroy you and contribute to the destruction of society like cancer. So we're not here to insult, we're here to heal, we're here to talk, we're here to debate. That being said, this has been the stream for today. Much love and liberty from Boulder, Colorado to wherever you are in the world. We'll see y'all next time, tomorrow. Same time tomorrow. See you then.